Sakamoto Days. What even is it?
Apart from being one of the coolest anime of the past year, Sakamoto Days is doing something that a lot of anime forget to do or simply don't care about. Today we are going to be looking at 3 key reasons why people have fell in love with this anime and how it beats the competition.
So, what even is Sakamoto Days?
Imagine being a world-renowned assassin only to fall in love with a husband, settle down and start a family. Also eat a lot of noodles. Like a lot of noodles. Sakamoto Days is the next generation of shonen which is released into Netflix. We'll be talking about Netflix later. But how is this anime dominating the market at the moment, and why does it currently compete with Solo Leveling for that winter anime title? There is a problem.
Some people don't like the animation.
They say it looks distasteful and lackluster, janky and crude. I mean, I like it, but I can see where they're coming from. I don't think animation is the start or end of an anime, however it can definitely take you out of that whole viewing experience. Sakamoto Days does a few things well. It allows itself to sit in its own humour, and it isn't afraid to let loose a little bit. But apart from the animation, I haven't really heard anyone else say anything bad about this anime, which is surprising, because either this potentially might be the perfect anime, or our standards in what makes a good anime have dropped.
I love how Sakamoto Days comes out in dub and sub at the same time.
This allows a more community feel to it, as even with bigger anime like Solo Leveling, people will wait for the dub before watching. It's the difference between having 2 million people watch it in sub, let's say out of Japan, and then another 4 million waiting for the dub. Sakamoto Days blends these numbers together, which means more social media presence as more people talk about it, pushing that into the algorithm, which means more people question if they should watch it. This seems to be a very common occurrence with Netflix anime. It happened with Dandadan, and it is happening with My Happy Marriage. It's the future of anime, I think, as slowly the dub versus sub debate dies down. I don't think it's ever going to go away, but it's definitely going to be less brutal.
Personally, I like watching something in dub, but if something is only coming out in sub, I will use all of my brain power to watch it.
Anime has always been a little bit wacky or a little bit silly apart from a select few. At least one of the bigger anime in each season has some sort of vibe to it. Take Dandadan in the fall or My Dear Friend Nokatan in the summer. These animes have comedy vibes to it. Sakamoto Days has its own style of comedy. It's almost a farce. If you don't know what a farce is, think of Mr. Bean by Rowan Atkinson or Mel Brooks' Spaceballs, which is a parody of Star Wars. It can be described as a broad satire or comedy, though now it's used to describe something that is supposed to be serious but has just turned ridiculous. The idea of an ex-hitman getting back into the job, or even living that life again just for the moment, should be serious. It should be Jason Statham saying,
"When might be interested in taking the job?
Start a new job in the morning.
I don't usually do this sort of a job."
But instead we get Sakamoto Days' humour, which is an ex-hitman using sweets to take out his opponent. It has a nice selection, Sakamoto Days, comedy, great action sequences, and in my opinion a very dedicated dub voice acting cast. So that was one bordering on 2 key reasons why Sakamoto Days is taking over.
Okay, so sub and dub release at the same time and it has a little bit of quality, but this doesn't really carry weight. After a while, the hype will die down. So how does Sakamoto Days keep people interested?
Point number 2, a fresh take on the assassin genre. When you think of the assassin genre, you may imagine something that is exciting, a 6-foot man in a black suit mowing down people and secretly with style. You don't think of a 100 kg man eating noodles in his convenience store. It flips the genre on its head. It's not the craziest of changes, or the most amazing idea anyone has ever had, having the hitman be retired, but it makes sense. He fell in love and settled down. It's the constant battle between past and present, between freedom and family. It's giving something up to only be involved in it again, so how do you manage that? People saying that your skills are wasted, or what have you become? Mr. Sakamoto is battling with his past. He doesn't want to kill anymore and wants to be with his family, but with his new friends who have different viewpoints, it's kind of hard to do that. He's not a typical traditional hero, but we do support him even if he's done bad in his past. This is where Sakamoto Days gets us hooked, because we want to see how he deals with these feelings and thoughts day in, day out. Will he give up the retired assassin story arc, or will he start a new one? It's also the humour in Sakamoto's attempts at a normal life, from awkward interactions with customers to comedic visual contrast between his current self and his former deadly persona. The show is full of moments where he attempts to live a peaceful life, but it gets clashed with violent skills he still possesses. For example, Sakamoto's assassin reflexes kicking in at the slightest provocation, leading to funny and over-the-top reactions. It's the natural instinct in him kicking in when he's just trying to be a typical member of society. Usually in stories we see characters attempting to achieve something or prove themselves. Very often do we see a character just want to sell bean buns over the counter.
So Sakamoto Days breaks the traditional mold. It doesn't need a big overarching plot to begin with to keep us hooked and interested. So what does it need?
Before we get into the last and final point of point 3, we need to talk about something that might potentially kill this anime in its tracks. At the moment, anime is going through a trend where they split a season in two by having something that is known as cores. A core is essentially a part, so imagine a part 1 of a season and part 2 later in the year. I think they do this to get the product out quicker so it doesn't lose interest or hype, which makes sense from a business perspective, but from a fan and an anime viewer perspective, not too much. The second part of Sakamoto Days comes out in July, so by the time the first part is finished, we would only have to wait a few months for the second part. But timing is everything in anime. If you wait too long or release too soon, the hype can die down very quickly, and also the time of year you release it can have a massive effect. Take Beastars. The final season part 1 released all its episodes on December 5th to Netflix, so most people like me watched it in 1 to 2 days and then forgot about it. It's important to nail that time of release so fans stay interested. But I guess with Sakamoto Days, only time will tell. So Sakamoto Days has been consistent, either that being its animation, comedy, voice acting, or just general attitude. It's been a fun ride so far, and I think it will continue on this upwards trend. If it isn't consistent, on the other hand, I feel like it could lose what it was trying to be in the first place. I don't think that is going to happen, but it's something interesting to think about. I think the success of Sakamoto Days will come from its story and comedy. It has it nailed down well, and I think that getting a spread of Sakamoto Days across the year maybe will benefit it. It has a job to do now, and hopefully it delivers. One fatal slip-up will mean the constant bombardment from anime fans who stop watching as they don't have much leeway in terms of mistakes. Once something has gone wrong, that's the end of that, which is quite upsetting as a lot of anime are great, but one thing stops someone from watching. For me, it's usually fan service, but fan service isn't a mistake. Sakamoto Days is an anime that I hope will last a while. I hope it can get as many seasons in the next 5 years as it can warrant. I do genuinely enjoy the anime, I think it's great, but only time will tell how this anime will develop.
So Sakamoto Days is here to stay, for now, but with part 2 coming out in the summer, which is 100 times more stat than last year, only you can decide how Sakamoto Days will be remembered. Hit that subscribe button, hit that like button, and I'll catch you all later.